My third assignment as an associate was at Mary Our Queen Parish in West Omaha, where Monsignor Kenny was the pastor, and he used the rites of a pastor on a regular basis, and one of those was he took all the funerals, even though some of the parishioners might have wanted Father Bowens or myself. No, he would always tell us, I'm the pastor, and I'm doing the funerals. And here was the problem. He always gave the same sermon at every funeral and used the same readings. I felt so sorry for the choir because they knew the sermon word for word. And whenever we'd see members of the choir, we'd, give a few words of that sermon to them to let them know we were there and sharing their struggles. He would start out always the same. It was that reading you just heard from the gospel. And so he'd start out the sermon. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Have faith in God and faith in me. And then he'd give the names of all the family members. And so Margaret, Billy, Todd, Mom, Jesus is going to prepare a place for us in heaven. And that would be what you go on about the place in heaven. Now, a lot of people choose that for funeral readings, and it's comforting that Jesus prepared a place in heaven for us. Yeah, it sounds like that, but here's the struggle. Is that Scripture scholars say, that's not what he's saying. Sorry. So it's out of context. That reading you just heard comes from Jesus talking to the disciples at the Last Supper. What he's just told them is that one of you is going to betray me, and then Judas leaves, and then he says, and all of you are going to run away from me. And Peter says, I'll die for you. And he says, you will deny me 3 times. That's what happens. He's washed their feet. Then he's done that. And then he says, do not let your hearts be troubled. Because they're all saying, oh my gosh, if Peter's going to deny him, what am I going to do? And he's saying, I'm going to run away. And now he's telling me, do not let my heart be troubled, to have faith in him. And then he says these things, which is confusing to Thomas and confusing to Philip, with reason. They're not goofballs. It's not like they haven't been listening. Jesus says, I'm going to prepare a place for you. Do you know where that is? It's not heaven. In the midst of that discussion at the Last Supper, where he's going to prepare a place for them is there on the cross. That's the place he's going to prepare, the cross. Because the cross changes everything. And Thomas is like, well, where are you going? And Jesus says, he's the way and the truth and the life. And when he's talking about his Father's house, all throughout Scripture, he talks about his Father's house. You know where that is? Not heaven. His Father's house is the temple. And he's mad when his Father's house is turned to a den of thieves. He cleanses it. That's where the Father is, there. But if we listen to the rest of today's gospel, we'll realize the truth of what Christianity proclaims, that Jesus and the Father are one, and that when Jesus leaves, he sends his Spirit so that you and I become the place where the Father dwells. He's going to say it in just a little bit. Didn't end up in today's gospel. But if you read the rest of that gospel, he says, my Father makes his dwelling with you. The reason why the Father's house has so many dwelling places is because it's you. You are the dwelling place of God. All of you. Lots of dwelling places. Many, many dwelling places. And he did that because he went to the cross. Once he goes to the cross, then you and I can be the dwelling place of God. That's where God chooses to dwell, is with you. He prepared a place in your heart, and he lives there. And that happens right now. We don't have to wait till we get to heaven. God is with us now. We'll have the fullness of that someday when we see him face to face. But we don't have to sit around and wait for it and say, gee, I wish God would show up sometime. I'm really missing him. He's here. He's in you. Now. Today. And Jesus makes a promise in today's gospel. You are going to do great things. Even greater things than Jesus. Why? Because God dwells in you. Trust that. Trust that Jesus' words are true. God dwells in you. He's got many dwelling places. And he's not skipping over you. Oh, my neighbor's got God and my friend has God, but it's not with me. No. God is with you. Trust it. Then live it. Live with that knowledge that when you show up, God shows up.